When we see the Palestinian children being pulled out of the rubble with their parents holding them, clutching them, their dead, broken bodies, sometimes, you know, the images are sanitized, obviously. We don't see the images of the parents who have to pick up their children in pieces, the limbs, and sometimes unidentifiable. But because their child was roughly in that vicinity, they assume maybe that was their child. Those images clearly, and that level of insanity has clearly, totally made us distraught, upset, angry even. And many of us have not been able to really return back to our normal lives with any clarity or sanity, I would say. The question that arises, how do the Palestinians themselves feel when we see their suffering? We see the turmoil, we see the killing, the murder of these people, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, and the level of pain that we feel when we see this suffering. And it doesn't matter when you see a Jewish child killed or a Palestinian child killed. It doesn't matter, because if you have humanity in your hearts, you should feel pain for regardless of which child is killed on which side. But when we see the thousands of children that are now dying in Palestine, and how our hearts and our souls are aching with pain when we see this level of brutality, and the fact that it has affected our sleep, our moods, perhaps the way that we eat, the way that we drink, it has unsettled us to such a level. But just imagine for a second that our suffering here is minute compared to the suffering that's going through at the moment, going on in the Palestinian territories. This is mass murder and genocide. These people are living in fear. And we see the screaming child running after its own parents and its families have been bombed and killed. Or we see the parents, the families of the children who've been bombed and then been killed. The question that I would like to ask is, why is it that there are so many people who don't find that suffering, who don't find that level of brutality sickening? And why and how can they stay silent when they are seeing what's unfolding in Palestine as a quintessential example, a paradigmatic example of ethnic cleansing, of genocide, of the deliberate targeting of civilians, the deliberate targeting of humanitarian structures and hospitals and schools, with the excuse that there are people hiding inside of those buildings. If there were truly people hiding inside of those buildings, it makes no sense that you give a warning before you bomb. Because if you give a warning, the first people to leave will be those terrorists that you're attempting to kill. So it doesn't even make logical sense. But I know that we are suffering, and I know that the people who see what's happening are suffering. But my brothers and my sisters, we need to educate ourselves, and we need to become activists. We need to become activists and have our voices heard. Now, there is a great drive at the moment to silence those voices. This is why people who want to march to stop the killing are being called hate marchers. There is this narrative. Social media are deplatforming people. They are silencing people, as they have many of our own videos. So my brothers and my sisters, not because we want notoriety or fame, but we want you to share this content as wide as you possibly can, to let the words get out so that we are not silenced, and that people hear about the tyranny, the murder, the killing, and the lies that are currently being presented. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.